Our ninth Moon Station Athens salon, and we're very excited that we have managed maybe a little bit to create this little salon where various people talk and then they return as audience, and we all meet each other from different disciplines: writers, artists, journalists, architects. And tonight we have artist Issam Kourbaj, who's he's a fine artist, architect, theatre designer, and also what I call an artist of metaphor. He started off in Syria. He left in '85. He was the top student. He got the top mark at graduation at the Fine Arts Institute of Damascus. He moved to St. Petersburg. He was the first foreign student of the Repin Institute of Architecture. Then he made his journey across Berlin before the wall went down, and he arrived to Cambridge by accident with some of his paintings rolled up. Immediately, as soon as he arrived to Cambridge, without any English, only Arabic and Russian, one of the top galleries in Cambridge took his paintings, and he had a big exhibition, and he was welcomed into the city without speaking a word. Then he was offered to teach art without words. So he mastered the language of the body, objects, movements. And then he, even though he's an artist and an architect and a theatre designer, he also has a beautiful command of language in Arabic. He writes poetry, and he's very interested in songs and music and lyricism. And I think he combined, as he learned English, now he mastered it. I mean, he can teach in English, he can speak in English, but he's mastered the merging of the language of words and the language of objects in a very poetic and interesting way. And he also had made the journey from painting to making things that speak. And we're very happy that he came.
My mother taught me how to write the letter Ain. She was illiterate. I am not left-handed, but she held my hand and she looked at the letter, and I did it once with her hand, second time, and the third time. And she left my hand, and I did it again and again. It was not good to start with, but it became much better. My mother was very generous. She taught me letters are not only letters, they are pictures. And that was the starting point of my journey. And this is where I feel that that seed is still growing. And I feel that it was, my mother is Lebanese, she learned so much of her mother, and my brother was a calligrapher, so I was his assistant. Again, I was trying to make calligraphy as part of my thinking, but I was really interested in pictures. How to relate the world to the world, how to translate the world into my work. And I learned something else from my uncle. When the French mandate left Syria, they left many unexploded bombs. So my uncle found his way to these unexploded bombs. He transferred them from bombs to spoons. So just hold that image that is in my childhood, I was eating with from these spoons. This, the object of destruction becomes an object of nurturing, and this is quite a, not knowing that is going to be part of my DNA. So this is where, this is the beautiful memories I have, and it's sometimes very difficult when you leave your own home with beautiful memories, and you cannot return to it. And this is where I feel, actually, this is where the seeds of me being an artist. So now I am going to share with you my journey and few different things that is I have been working since the Syrian uprising. But I would like you to read it not only about Syria, but see it actually that it could have, or at least this is what I hope, it is a wishful thinking, that is actually it deals with much bigger geography rather than only on Syria. So now we are going to transfer this. This is, I'm really sorry, this is very messy here, but we will try. So I am going to now become a cinema rather than a theater. So can we switch the light off, please? Can we switch this one off? It is blue, a family of cold colors. The birth of light and the dying of light. I was addicted to this action. This is one of my performances in Cambridge, where I started burning matches. Look at this very humble tool, how suddenly, just in the right environment, in the right space, in the right way of seeing it, it becomes something else. This is called stripe, referencing the many stripes of many different cities. You could see this is becoming a city. Olympia. Can we have the next one, please? The arrow. The best thing in the world, technology has its own mind. And I feel that is the best thing that is when we could get stuck. So here it is, you are seeing me twice. It's the same class. So, if it is, you can press the... Ah, perfect, thank you. So, back to the idea of strike. Now, when you strike a match and repeat it, it becomes a nest. And the nest is burning. And this is again referencing to many destruction of many cities. I am not referencing particular cities, but unfortunately, Guernica is not the only one which was destroyed. Okay, we had many. And we are ongoing, we are not learning. That is, wars is not the language we should speak. But maybe because we are creative people, we don't speak the language of wars. But other people, this is the only language they speak. Can we have the next one? So, I just would like you to look at the metaphor of this match. Look what I have done it the first time as a bomb. It's called strike. The second time I have done it was actually not necessarily in the same, this is much earlier. In 2015, I did this project called Another Day Lost. In Arabic, غاب نهار آخر. And it is a model of a refugee camp with a series of tally of burnt matches, reflects the days since the Syrian uprising. But you don't need to read it only in this context. Somebody said it looks like a sculptural pointillism, which is fine for me. Reading is up to us too. But this piece traveled to many different locations around the world, and the last one was in Budapest, where the refugee tent was bleeding out of my camp. And that was really quite a very significant piece because I started with 5 locations simultaneously in London to reflect the refugee camps around Syria. Can we have the next one, please? Now, here is my mother. I don't know if you can recognize if you read Arabic or even if you cannot read Arabic.
For your birthday.
Sorry?
For your birthday.
That is nice. It's actually not for my birthday, it was for my son.
Yeah.
When we went to visit her, and she wanted to teach my children the alphabet and the numbers. But if you recognize, this is her writing. She is trying to articulate something really very sentimental, but her tools are very limited. And I thought that I wanted to bring it here because it is to do with pictures. You could see she is not writing, she is drawing, and this is what she is insisting on. I don't know how to write, I draw. And I found that is still, when I last saw her, she was in her 80s. She is still insisting, drawing or writing is drawing. Can we have the next one? I took her really seriously, what she means by that. When I visited Cuba and I saw that many Cubans, they took the furniture from their homes, dismantled it, and made boats to migrate to Miami. So I thought, look at this. The idea of, again, memory of my uncle, destruction of the home to make a journey to a new home, to dreams. So when I came back to Cambridge, I'd never been trained as a sculptor. So this is one of my pieces. I was working at that time with the Epic of Gilgamesh. And this is, I dismantled, my studio was behind the theater. So the theater set made it to my studio, and this is one of my pieces called Immigration, inspired by the Epic of Gilgamesh. And they are all made out of, but they look like a language. They look like agricultural tools. So they have many different kinds of connotations. Okay, shall we have the next one? although actually I did not start immediately thinking about Syria. There is a piece, it's a very graphic one, it's called Excavating the Present. And the only tools I could find to play with this idea of excavation is X-ray images. And X-ray images, I'm holding them and I took them to the dark room to make another photogram. A photogram and a photogram. And if you're not familiar with the photogram, it's an image made without a camera. Can we have the next one, please? Now, during the lockdown, the Fitzwilliam Museum, I live in Cambridge, and the Fitzwilliam Museum contacted me and told me, what would you remember of our museum? Is there any one object that you really remember? I said yes. They have 3 of these idols from the northeast of Syria, but they are so delicious. They are tiny, small ones. And I said I would like to speak about, so they commissioned me to do a podcast. And they commissioned me to do this idea of how would I remember it, why I remember them, because they look like a family. This was my interest. But I decided to make an installation out of them. But look at the title. This is, by the way, I need to admit, that is, Rana was helping me with the translation. Okay? So look at this beautiful title. Neither light agrees. Of course it's beautiful. I'm not trying to blow my trumpet, but I could see the way how Rana's influence. Neither light agrees to enter the eyes, nor air the lungs. We are talking about during the lockdown. So this is referencing the eyes as well as the lungs. But when I started working with them, you might ask me what they are made from. They are made out of soap, Aleppo soap. Can we have the next one, please? When I did them, they were really very flat. I am copying the old one. But the minute I blindfolded myself and I started working without any eyes, suddenly becomes much more provocative. They became very fragile. And this is where I did the 366 of them. Can we have the next one? It looks like I am repeating myself because when I was 6 years old, can we go back to the next one, please? The one before? Look at this relation. No, just the one with blindfolded. Sorry, it is my fault. Look at this one. I am trying to learn from the eyes of my hand. And when I was a little boy, can we have the next one, please? This is my sister, and I'm really not interested in what's happening around. Beautiful young ladies, but I am looking inside my tiny small universe. And this is, I could see that is the seed starting there. The idea of actually being elsewhere while you are there physically. Can we have the next one? When my son was born, I did an exhibition with him. He was 3 years old. And the exhibition was called Is Am. He is, therefore I am. His footsteps, I am following his footsteps. And this was really quite magical because in my studio I exhibited his work and my work, and everybody was confused. Who is who? And that was a very beautiful compliment. Can we have the next one? The way I work, I like to be always alert to my surrounding, to my things. And one day I saw this very beautiful ball in the Met Museum in New York. And just in the same year, I was invited to collaborate with a collection of architects and artists in London. And I made this piece called The Dark Side of the Unknown Ray. And if you don't know what it means, the unknown ray, is the word X-ray. But really the English, every now and again, they like to make something really much more poetic than it is. It is unknown ray, becomes an X-ray. It's a very mathematical, but I prefer the original one, the unknown ray. And this is a clock that it stopped in 2011, referencing the Syrian revolution, and it is the only arm is moving is the second arm. So you could see the conversation between the object and where it's coming from. Then we have the next one. Sometimes I like to be literal. Literal. That's actually here it is. The Fitzwilliam Museum invited me to work with them on another exhibition called Defaced. So I literally took some Syrian money, banknotes, and I hammered it, hit hard, and the same thing punctured it not only to do with the economy. Somebody was telling me that they are economists and they would like to exchange with me my job. I said no, because if I am the economist, then definitely the world will collapse. I am not good at economics. And this is an evidence. You could see the way how I punctured these banknotes. But I left the evidence there. It's called hit hard. And we have the next one. And another museum invited me in Amsterdam to look at their collection. And I saw this very humble dish. And if you look at the drawing, again, very, very unassuming drawing. It is seeds, flower, fruits, seeds, flower, fruits. A circle of life. Look at this, nothing more simple than this. But I thought this was the starting point of a huge exhibition relating to seeds. Even I planted seeds outside, Syrian seeds, outside the museum, and the Dutch birds, they really like the Syrian seeds. They ate them all, which was really very good to have this integration with the natural world. Can we have the next one? Why I was doing about seeds, because maybe you know I come from a place called the Fertile Crescent. The Fertile Crescent is the place where all the seeds originated from. And we had actually originally the seed bank was in Beirut. During the war in Beirut, left to Aleppo. In Aleppo is destroyed. And we have all the seeds now in Svalbard, in the north. And then I actually asked them if I could, I will show you some of the seeds relating to it. But the question is, seeds, particularly wheat, is under threat. And this is the way how I dealt with it. Can we have the next one? This piece is recently was exhibited and collected by the British Museum. And this is a poetry, as Rana was saying. I am really inspired by songs and by poets. This is a Palestinian poet called Mahmoud Darwish, and he is an icon in front of many people's eyes. But I just would like to say to you here, this is a collection of 24 images. This is 11, this is number 13. And the British Museum collected them in a context of artist books. And why they consider, this was a book, then I separated them to single items. The original ones, they were coming after the Second World War, and I printed my images of the destruction of a city, could be Damascus, could be something else, and the whole poem to do with Damascus. في دمشق تنقر عصفورة ما تركت من القمح فوق يدي وتترك لي حبة لتريني غدا غدي. I will not attempt to translate it, but what it is in the picture of it, that is, the poet was holding few seeds in his palm. A bird came, took them all, but left one. And that one, just to tell the poet, this is for your future, for tomorrow. And I thought that is a very beautiful piece to work with, seeds. Then we have the next one. This is the exhibition I was talking about in the British Museum. And here is another piece relating, I'm traveling in geography from Cuba to another places. This is relating to Baghdad, when the Americans bombarded many libraries in Baghdad, and this is called Sound Palimpsest. And it was the poster for this artist making books. Can we have the next one? But I really like to work with many different media. If you remember, I was working with the soap. Now, this is Aleppo castle, made out of Aleppo soap. But the reference to it, don't wash your hands before the quick. This is what Aleppo was before the quick, and referencing to what's happening in the conflict in Syria. And this is a piece was on the floor in my recent exhibition, and this is the exhibition. I should actually get this. It's called the exhibition called Urgent Archive. Urgent Archive, and there is another exhibition simultaneously in the same city called You Are Not You and Home Is Not Home. And this was really quite a very powerful thing for me to play in separate spaces, and this idea that is you are reading the exhibition in two different places. And this is one of them on the floor. Can we have the next one? Any object has many voices. It's just how you spend, how you invest looking, listening, playing to get something else out of it. So a typewriter, a very well-traveled one from Damascus, arrived to my studio, and because of the transportation, it was starting to be damaged. And I thought, actually, that is what I wanted to do. So I took literally and I crushed it, and I dedicated it to the people of Homs. But I could dedicate it to many cities. It's not only Homs. And it is now in the collection of the World Cultural Museum in Amsterdam. Can we have the next one? So the Urgent Archive appeared, and I started sketching my idea of what is the poster will look like. I thought the poster will look like this, Urgent Archive with the seed, because seeds are an archive of themselves. Just watch that image, actually. The idea that is, here is a seed, it contains its past, it's dreaming of a future, contains its future. It's all written in this small seed that contains a universe. So the gallery decided to do something else with this image, with this poster. Can we have the next one, please? And they did this one, which I thought it's equally, the idea of urgency becomes much more clear. I was very happy with the poster and with the exhibition. Can we just now go on to look at what's happening? Can we have the next one, please? And here is the seed, and I printed them under a microscope. Really massive, massive piece under the microscope, because I wanted to say that this destruction is not only of humans and cities and families, but the natural world. And here is again the Palestinian poet Mahmoud Darwish. I will not attempt to read it in English because I am dyslexic. I will read it in Arabic. أمن حبة القمح يبزغ فجر الحياة وفجر الحياة. Can we have the next one? Now, I took some seeds to the botanical garden, and I asked the scientists if they could watch the private life of seeds. And they said yes. So I would like you to watch the private life of a seed and the way how seeds roots and shoots simultaneously. It's a long shot, but actually we are going to break it so you could see the gist of it. Can we have the first one? Next one. Next one. And next one. And next one. Lovely. Thank you. Shall we move to the next stage? What you see here is the seed has this urge to root and shoot. And look at two different energy, the verb down and up. Talking about seed, actually I was eating some olives now. And actually, I thought it wouldn't be nice to do a project about olives, so I kept the olive seed. I might transfer it by the end of tonight to an artwork. I don't know yet. But here is dates. This is actually, again, if you remember my first attempt to deal with dates and غاب نهار آخر, it means another day lost. This is the continuation of the same song. غربتنا زادت نهار واقتربت عودتنا نهار. And this idea of counting the days. So by counting the days forward, actually you are dreaming of the return. So it's this both energy. But it's all made out of dates, seeds. Can we have the next one? Look how I stitched them. I stitch them, not me actually, I work with the community to stitch these seeds together. But counting the days with dates. I told you, I like to be literal. Okay, can we have the next one? Here it is, referencing the falling springs, referencing the Arabic spring, it's falling. So this is one of the pieces where I put many spring mattresses and many of these springs were falling. And I thought actually, when I was breaking these, I thought of something really very powerful. The spring itself, I brought with me, actually, I did not find it in the street, I brought it from my studio. Here it is. Just look at this very ordinary object. This spring mattress. And if you cut this part and this part, it becomes this. But just this looks like a barbed wire. So imagine an object of intimacy, an object of border and separation. Just look at these two. They are part of each other. They are part of, so the part and the whole work together. But if you look at the whole, it reads in one object and it reads another object. So what I have done with this one, can we have the next slide? This is what I have done with that. I created a map of Europe. And this is all made out of barbed wire and the Mediterranean with burned seeds, charred seeds. Historically, the Mediterranean was a place, we are actually now in the Mediterranean, so we need to behave ourselves. The Mediterranean was a place of exchange, economical, cultural, ideas coming from the west to the east, but unfortunately it's becoming a graveyard. And this is where I talk about the burned seeds. This is, I was not planning to talk about this one, but this is a life jacket made out of lead. If you did not miss the lesson about lead, lead is a very heavy object, it will sink. So imagine a life jacket made out of lead. Can we have the next one? Here they are close up, you could see the evidence of the barbed wire. Here it is. It's coming from the mattress itself. But what I like about this one is as you enter the gallery, you see it from the side. Can we have the next one? I will take you to another city in Syria called Malula, where Aramaic is still spoken. But for a reason I'm taking you there, because I will compare the city and the way how our ancestors decided to look at the way how to make routes on the top of rocks. Not an easy object, actually, to build a city in the top of a rock. Imagine how difficult for the architects of nowadays, how much they have struggled with the material. But imagine if there is actually a rock you are working with. But look at this, beautiful. And it's illegal to be an artist in Syria without drawing this particular city. So it is a homage to everybody. You have to go there and to look at the city. And the way how it offers many different metaphors. Can we have the next one? When I was in Amsterdam, I came across a herbarium in Leiden, and this herbarium again coming from the Fertile Crescent. And what was really magical about it is actually these particular plants, they thrive on rocks. And this is where I felt actually I needed to make sure that they are traveling with their roots. So I exhibited the herbarium as well as projecting the content into the herbarium elsewhere. Can we have the next one? Look what I have done. I found two postcards of the same. Yes, I could see my head now is becoming less, something is happening. So I know it is you are complaining, but a small place for 1,000 friends. Okay, we are all friends. Look at this postcard. The simplicity for me, it is a postcard, it's traveling one, but I am talking about roots with a traveling postcard. So just look at the magic of that one. Can I stop until, would you need to do? Look away now, just for a second until we fix this one, please. Or close your eyes. That it is working. My head, yeah, it's very good. So if you would like to open the door and touch, I think it would be fine. The noise. Yeah, okay, yes. Okay, thank you. So here is a piece. This is the one after what was before? Yes, the postcard, the simplicity of the postcard. And now the next one, please. It's called Roots in Rocks. The next one. So part of the exhibition, the philosophy of the whole exhibition was to do with this idea of the exhibition is not fixed. I change it as I go. I go to the gallery, I treat the gallery as my studio. I change things, I react to things, I hear the news, I bring the news to the gallery. This was quite hard work, but actually was very satisfying because it becomes an active place rather than that's it, fixed, done. And it's very depressing. I had many exhibitions when I fix the things, that's it. You cannot actually move things. Whereas the philosophy of this exhibition was to change things. And this is a piece came about just 1 month before the exhibition, and this is dedicated to the children of Gaza. And it is actually children milk bottle and filled with everything but milk. And when you look at them from distance, they look very beautiful, very seductive. But when you come close to them, should we have the next one, please? Look what you see. Just if you can read the material of them, I don't want to name what's inside because it's disgusting. But I would just say that this is concrete. This is cast concrete. This is a burned teeth. This is a cast teeth. So the whole idea, this archaeological findings, just any object, you put them inside this particular bottle, they have a different charge. And for me as a visual artist, I really like the idea of the chemistry between objects. Can we have the next one? I'm sure now you know this is in Greek. Many Syrian refugees arrived to the shores of Lesbos, some of them without anything but a little bit of clothing. And many very kind people wanted to bury these children, but they don't have any evidence about them. So this is a gravestone with a plaster and written in Greek and in Arabic, unknown. The only thing you know is the age of the bearing of this wearer of clothes, and the age and how many refugees there did. So I contacted the Classical Archaeology Museum in Cambridge and I said, can I install my pieces among your sculptures? Look how beautified these classical sculptures. And they are hollow because they are copied. This is, my piece is the opposite, is filled with meaning inside, of history, of where it's coming from. So I found the contrast between the two was, so as a visual artist, I rely on the agency of the material, the agency of the space, the agency of the scale, the agency of the color. I could spend days talking about the agency of what I am using. Can we have the next one? I forgot to say that when I was working in these boats, and I will tell you where is this whole thing come from, the sculpture in the middle, I found it in the Fitzwilliam Museum. It's a tiny, small sculpture. And I wrote, you think that I stole it, but I did not. Here it is. This is a digital copy, and it's a reflective mirror. I like that, actually. I could really play with it. Here it is. But it carries three goddesses. It's 500 BCE. Syria used to send to the Mediterranean goddesses. I thought to contrast them with boats. And this is why I made my boats. I know I did not see many bicycles in Athens, actually, and I really miss them. Because my boat's made out of bicycle mudguards. And here it is. Okay. This is bicycle mudguards. This is burned matches. And it's called dark water burning wall. And to my delight, I have found another material to bond these matches together. It's resin. So the resin itself becomes, because in the time of difficulty, we have our differences and we love each other, hate each other, but in the time of difficulty, we bond with each other. I'm sure you have seen Fellini's book, Fellini's film to do with the rehearsal of the orchestra, when the whole film is to do with the musicians playing separately and then in the end they bond together because there was a disaster. Always disasters bring us. Hopefully we should bring ourselves together before disaster. But this is what happened. The bonding of people in the time of difficulty, the way how many people bond together in this time of difficulty. So I will put this one here for now. Can we have the next one, please? The action of burning them was a very powerful thing. Just to witness this tiny small match again. If you remember, I was talking about the match, the way how I'm using it. Now becomes a trauma. People are carrying trauma with them. Can we have the next one, please? Here it is. When I was working with these boots, I have a very dear friend, maybe some of you might know her, called Ruth Badel. She's a poet. And she is a very, very thoughtful person. She was in Lesbos. She phoned me and she said, I would like to work a project with you to reflect on the Syrian refugees crisis, but equally in the heroic action of the lesbian of Lesbos, the lesbian as the inhabitant of Lesbos. And I said, yes, I am already working on it. And she came and she did her poem and I did my pieces, but was something really very magical because she brought some images of the gravestones that many did not have any evidence except their teddy bear. So the teddy bear becomes a gravestone. And this is why the British Museum, when they had this called Living with Gods, the whole idea of religion supposed to link us, but this is what the conflict is. Religion becomes the place of conflict. This is the Medusa cross that was once a boat. My boats were once a bicycle mudguard and then became boats. And we have the next one, please. I'm coming toward the end of my presentation. To my delight, the dark water burning wall, collected by the British Museum in 2018. In 2020, during the lockdown, they wanted to have another object to add to the history of the wall. And it is a privilege, but it is a curse when an artwork becomes a historical document. So they name it as one object 101. history of the world. Now, what I wanted actually to do with this one, now I am going to switch the light on from here, but I just would like to tell you that I am every now and again I am very literal. Now I look like a musician. I bring things from here. There it is. I took the book of 100 and Object History of the World by uh, Neil McGregor, I should remember because I asked him his permission, and I drilled the hole. And the hole is to do with actually making my 100 object. I love the idea that is you saw the humor, and this is where I operate. I operate on this. That is an object. It might send a message in 1 second. It might send another message in another second. And I really love the idea of this contradiction. Can we have the next one? So, I did this object. I carried on dealing with the question of refugees because this object, actually the book I'm talking about, it contains 2 million years of human creativity. Without migration, we are not here. Migration is not a phenomenon of now. It is seeds migrate, cells migrate, trees migrate, ideas migrate. So why do we need to shy away from the question of migration? I don't know. So this is I don't know the context of Greece, but I know in Britain is not a healthy reaction to the question of migration. So the government, the conservative government, decided to make this Bobby Stockholm. It's even the Bibi Stockholm, even I don't remember the name. So this is my reaction to it. I did it with sardine tins, a model of it in sardine tins. So again, do you see the way how I am bringing the outside world to the inside of my studio and how I deal with it? Can we have the next one, please? And when the British government again agreed on this idea that is when my migrants will arrive, we will send them to Rwanda, I did this piece, reformers. I was with glue and using children bottles but filled with red ink. And it's called Stop the Bombs, Not the Boats. Because many cities all around the world are being bombed, and this is much more urgent than the boats. Can we have the next one? So back to my object. I did another version and I donated it to the British Museum, and this was in the British Museum for a whole year. And I felt that they had really helped me so much by accepting my proposal to take their book, because it belonged to the BBC and many other permissions we have to do, and now it is in the collection of the British Museum. Now, I am going to share with you, I am closing very soon in a second, I would like to share with you the question of migration. And I'm not going to tell you the title of it, but it's not made by me. Partially made by me, but it's actually filmed by my son, who is a filmmaker. And I would like to share that with you. Can we have the lights on, please? Can we have the next one? It's only 4 minutes and 32 seconds. When it is, shall we have play it, please? Yeah.
Needs to remain. A single Syrian grain airborne needs to remain. A voice flowering in you needs to remain. Volcanic soil umbilical cord needs to remain. First breath needs to remain. Smell of bread needs to remain. A cry enriching the world needs to remain. Pierces the fog needs to remain. Lighting a candle needs to remain. Homage to the land needs to remain. Greeting the light needs to remain. Of an unearthed sun needs to remain. Chanting, walking on air needs to remain. Scent of the jasmine needs to remain. Making chocolate needs to remain. Making love needs to remain. The tender bud needs to remain. Unbound needs to remain. Indefinitely needs to remain. The other.
Can we have the next slide, please? Life despite all. This is again my match box, and this is my Syrian, but there could be any seeds growing inside the match box. Thank you very much for listening. Before you ask me any question, which I would love to, when you heard performed by Olympia and Rana, thank you both for not only for reading this, but actually for inviting me. But this is belong to another art piece. I am not a poet, but this is my found poetry called Leave to Remain a Single Syrian Grain Airborne. And the good news, this is usually it's sold by $14.99, but special offer today is only €15, and it's going to be there. I know that there were supposed to be 10 of them there, so please, if you would like to have them, there is Maria there, is going to I am actually very good at marketing, by the way. But this is not, we are not supposed to say, but just because I wanted to say that these are not anybody's poems, but mine. So, thank you for listening, and I am very happy. Would you like to share the questions, or shall I play? No.
So you're all grown up enough, you can ask your own questions directly to my son. Thank you so much. This was amazing.
Thank you. Okay, here I am. I know I left you speechless. So, take your time. I have my wine with me, so I have no problem. Yes, please.
I was wondering, as somebody who was born and brought up in Britain, indeed have lived in Cambridge and loved Kettle, Museum, whatever you mentioned, but you had the picture of the baby Stockholm, and you are talking a lot about reactions in Britain to people from your country and other countries that have had terrible problems, and yet you've also been welcomed into the establishment, and there you are punching holes in the British Museum and BBC's book, and yet they have you in a big glass case. So I just wondered how you feel about those interesting contradictions.
Beautiful question. Thank you very much. And it is actually, I have been in England for the last 34 years, and there is the most generous and the most beautiful people I have been in meeting. But people is one thing, government is totally another thing. And the problem, I am an individual. They could put me, if you like, they could see what I am working with. Where the minute there is a boat in the channel, they don't know what these people are. The quickest fix, the better. And therefore, unfortunately, it becomes a card that is many governments, many political governments were playing with this. And as you see, the baby Stockholm, I mean, what a stupid idea, from my perspective, to put a refugee who struggled with this idea of water and boats, to put them again on a boat. It just, I can't imagine if I am one of them, the minute the boat is rocking a little bit, all the memories present. So I feel it is just, unfortunately, that is the government is very short-sighted, whereas the people totally different, totally long-sighted, very kind. Many refugees, the minute they make it in, they are very welcome, but they need to make it in. And the problem, of course, many people make it in damaged. I did not arrive there damaged. This is one of the difficulties. I am not carrying the trauma that they are carrying. I am carrying another things. We are all carrying our past with us, but they are carrying a damaged past. And I know that is, when I gave this talk in many different locations, I know that in many different churches, in many different organizations, I say it very clearly. That is, we all have something to share. And sometimes we share it because of the circumstances, but we share it because we really want to share it. And I think that England has always shared in the past and in the present, but very chosen people. And the chosen, we have so many in history of England, that is, or Britain, that is, people are coming from outside and contributed to the local landscape. But thank you for the question, and I hope I answered.
You did, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Phoebe.
Maybe two reflections and then a question.
Please do.
So I was wondering if you were kind of engaged in this sort of effort to overcome the false opposition between oral traditions and like writing traditions. Often oral traditions are considered traditions without writing, kind of like in the negative sense, whereas actually like what's sort of being kind of interrogated in anthropology at the moment is this kind of intermediate situation where it's neither spoken word nor linguistic sign dominates, but actually knowledge is transmitted for memory purposes through combining images with text. And yeah, so lots of like so-called oral traditions have a very rich way of preserving cultural memory through the use of pictures in ritual contexts. And so you have these fascinating objects such as pictographs, where it's, you know, you can have like a song which is represented partly through an object which visually transcribes some of the lyrics, but then the shaman also remembers other parts of the song, and only the full image only comes together through the ritual performance using the objects. So that was like a reflection, but I was thinking of it in relation to your mother writing with pictures. And the other reflection I was having is like when you did is it called Hit Hard? For the debased exhibition at Fitzwilliam, which I did get to see, it was brilliant. I was wondering if you were thinking about like...
This is part of we rehearsed that.
Yeah, that's part of it. You know, like the Haitian Republic, issued its own currency through puncturing or like piercing the colonial Spanish and French coins to institute its own money. And I just thought the symbolism of your punctured notes. And finally, the question was about the roots of rocks. I was listening to you and missed what was on the screen, and I saw Kurdistan, and I was wondering what the relationship to Kurdistan was. Roots of rocks, I think.
Say it again, to Kurdistan.
Yeah, I think I saw it written, but I was lost in this.
Is it? Would you remind me of the image, because I didn't do anything about Kurdistan.
Is Kurdistan not in any of your slides?
Iraq, but not Kurdistan.
I think I read it, but no, I must not.
What kind of wine did you have?
Okay. Yeah, okay, so, interesting. Maybe I didn't.
No, I didn't actually. Sorry, it is the Kurdistan. It's not that I don't want to, but I am not informed enough. See, I lived in Cuba, I lived in Syria. I have seen enough images of the bombardment of Baghdad. That is enough. But with the Kurdish issue, which is such a very, very big, that is, the world is actually marginalizing it, but maybe one day I will really spot the light on it and see it. But I did not show something about it. Apology for that. Okay, but thank you for the reflection. Very beautiful reflection, by the way, because this is what my both parents were illiterate. Actually, illiterate is maybe the wrong word, but they each of them had 1 week schooling. So they just make it to read a word or a letter. But the way how they were great storytellers and great reflection on their life. And that was, for me, the most important teaching in my life. Nothing what I had been in their life transmitted to me through their experience. So, which I think that is in many cultures. I don't know if you read the Epic of Gilgamesh. If you didn't, I hardly recommend it to you, because it is all started as an oral chant. And only at one stage, when we invented language, that is transformed into a written tablet. And I read it in Arabic and Russian and in English, in poet and in prose. It's a very beautiful, beautiful epic. And still we are living it, because he was looking for immortality. And it looks like we are all looking for immortality, but we live for a short time. Thank you for your observation. Any other question? Please, Mari.
I just wondered, I was very moved by the gesturality of writing those letters. And I was wondering if you were feeling the gift of being taught by somebody who is illiterate. And there is a beautiful contradiction, it's rather a curiosity of mine, in the sense that when somebody teaches us and they have the base of knowledge, they gift us with the gift of a generous, rich basis to start with. But at a certain time, there is absence of freedom. While the humility of somebody who explores at the same time with us, knows their limitation, we have that holding of the gesturality, gives us actually freedom, further degrees of freedom.
Mm.
And I was wondering if that was part of your experience by being taught by a person who happened to be and still knowing just a little, but it was enough for you. I'm not sure, I wonder, by curiosity, the effect would have been the same if you had the best of teachers who would have known 10 languages and given you the tools. Still a beautiful gift, but kind of limitative maybe, or restrictive in terms of the norms.
What a beautiful observation, question, and everything else. It's very incredibly nice. I will tell you a few things about this. I came from the school, I was crying because I could not form that letter Ain. And Ain in Arabic means I. Okay? So this is why I was fighting to translate my name in English into Issam with I in the beginning. So the idea that is actually vision, it becomes part of it. But what was the question when I was crying? My mother said, could you show it to me? And the minute she was looking at it, she has no idea what is the letter, what is the name of the letter. She looked at it as a picture. But I totally agree with you. The joy of being in a place where you have nothing is actually, in hindsight, is a joy. At that time, it's a struggle. But that struggle plant many seeds in your life because you need to create your own toys.
It
You
felt
need
like a place of fertility.
exactly. So the whole idea, I believe, I have actually the need of material things made me make my own toys. These toys became my artwork. I don't see them more than my extended toys, the one I did not play with in my childhood. And I feel that is definitely, I love Cambridge and I could see many people very bright, but I know that is we are the landscape we see. This is not my word. This is by Isamu Noguchi, a Japanese, wonderful Japanese sculptor. And I totally agree that is we all reflect or we all the landscape we see. And this is the landscape I have seen and I am very grateful for it. And I am very grateful that is my mother was generous enough to make her illiteracy a place of joy rather than a feeling of shame. Thank you. So this was the story of my childhood. I hope I reflected into your question. Thank you. More? Yes. You wanted to say something if you're still with it. Okay. Yes, but yes.
Well, thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. Obviously, like a lot of your art is responding to the myriad atrocities that of our era and previous eras. I'm a writer and like I'm also working on a lot of the things that you've covered here, but in words, so it's actually really refreshing to see it like in a visual form. But I wondered like if you find yourself like coming up against the limitations of the medium, like I guess in this era where things are, I guess even it feels inconceivably more atrocious. If you find yourself at any point that you are unable to respond to events through your arts, or if you still find an outlet or a forum there.
This is very beautiful. Thank you. It's actually I live in a place. This is what was really the gift of going to Cuba. When I saw the Cubans, they just immediately they took their furniture and made boats out of it to transfer. That was enough for me to. I went to Cuba in 1995. Here it is, 30 years ago. I am dealing with the same question. In Cambridge, there is so many bookbinders. There is many second-hand shops. There is many people that they gift. I have many gifts from my friend. One of them actually gave me an Encyclopedia Britannica because nobody is using Encyclopedia Britannica set. We prefer Uncle Google as much, much we can, including myself. And I actually did 10,232 drawings on every single page of the Encyclopedia Britannica. I am not short of objects. Actually, if you inside my studio, it is a forest of found objects. That is, they are waiting for me to become something else. But I don't, it's not enough the object. It has to be the way how I look at the object, I make it, and I have to rehearse the thought so many times before I see, yes, it's speaking. It's almost, I feel I am a chemist, distilling and distilling and distilling of what is there to just make it a little bit mysterious enough for other people, because we are all archaeologists, to complete the piece. And I feel that if it's too easy to read, it becomes very predictable. So what I am saying to you, the digital media is new to me, and thanks to my son, he is helping me with, as you see the film, it's made by him. I made the performance, he filmed it, and he reflected on it. But I don't think I will run out of material, and each material has its agency. And I don't think I will run out of ideas, because we are in a place, in a very fragile place. So the air is filled, just I need to put my hand up, take one idea and put it on my palm to work with it. And if it works, fine. If it doesn't, I could leave it. Because there is another thing. Or I could merge it with another object or project. But the question is, for me, it's making these pieces in my studio. They are seen, if you like, as one object in their own. When you put them in a gallery space, they don't anymore sing as one voice. They have to sing in conjunction with other voices. So to answer you back, to say, actually, I don't think, not because I am so resourceful that I will run out of ideas. It's not me. It's the world is actually boiling with so many contradictions that it is enough just to take a tiny small lens with me and just to see there is so many things I could work with. Seeds, I never studied seeds. But now I see it's actually such a very powerful metaphor. And this is why I am playing with it. I hope I played or answered with your reflection. Thank you. So, yes, please.
I would like to continue to insist and continue asking this question. Just, going one level worse. It's a not comfortable question. I'm sorry.
Please do. If I will look away now, if you will.
It's the images. The images are all touching. They are commenting on the situation in a very transformative way. They are helping us to grieve, to accept, or to understand. Everybody sees different things in them. But some of the images are much more than that. For example, the book is just transgressively cut through with the boat. And then, what does the British Museum make out of it? It puts it under a vitrine. So this gesture is a kind of gesture which is already a little bit more critical about the situation, because it's addressing the writers of such books. Why are you writing those books? Can you do something about the current situation? Because the real is really very material. Look at these boats. So it is more than an object for our soul or for your own practice. But there is also the other object which also has this different politics of visibility of the political in your work, which is the banner you were painting about the bombs and the boats. So this is more than these objects which are more or less okay to live within the realm of, these are sculptures talking about the current political situation from a personal perspective of somebody who's experienced this and this. this banner tries to intervene somehow. It is addressing the aggressor. But you are in the Great Britain. In the Great Britain, nobody will think that they are actually the aggressor. They will think, oh, such a good artist, he is addressing those aggressors out there, and we are purchasing this work. So the question is, how do you live with this conflict? Because now it sounds okay, nice that you are working and having those objects in your studio, beautiful. I also have objects in my studio. But how do you really live in this world with this conflict of this limitation of art? I hope I connected it with the question that you asked. And maybe like an additional part of this question is, do you think art should try to do something in this world, really more than what it can say to us in a museum? Do you think we should try to change the situation for real? You cut the book for real.
What you could see, it's coming from a place of experience, and that is really what I love about Moon Station, is the meeting of minds and the way how we think and we reflect on each other's work. And I totally agree with you. But I would like to suggest again, having lived in England for this long, it's very easy to say no. Many museums, I could have easily approached them, the British Museum, and say, I would like to do this. Why don't they say, sorry, we are not interested. But because they are interested, it puts them actually, it looks like, I see that, and I see it in many different cultures, it is much better to reflect on our past. I don't think actually the British don't know what they have done in the Middle East. They do know, but they don't have the tools to repair it. It's everything, the genes went out of the bottom. It's not anymore easy to repair. And many people took this as a wonderful place for selling weapons. So, very profitable place. Not only Britain, it is many players, many bad boys. Okay? But it is actually the idea for me, what I took my hat off for them, that's actually when I proposed it, they adopted it. Not because they put it on this is the problem of museums, they like to put in vitrines. In contemporary art museums, they don't. Okay? If it was a contemporary art space, which I exhibited in many places, I did not put them in the case. But I know the metaphor you were playing with. But imagine if they said from the beginning, look, this is destruction, we don't want to take it on board. So, and it's interesting that it's the British Museum, and we are in Athens, and we know the history of what kind of object went there, and still there is so many problems. So I'm not going there, but I am, you see the difference, I am a person, not a civilization. The Greek civilization, the way how it's ended up in the British Museum is one thing. My job is actually somehow to transfer what I am seeing on the media, what I am feeling, what I am listening from my friends into an art piece. Now, how successful, how long this piece will live, time will tell. If it's actually made any impact or made nothing. Or is it just a very nice toy of mine and I am playing with it? I don't know. We will speak in 100 years, you and I, maybe, and we will say
I hope so, yes.
Okay. Somewhere else. Okay, great. But thank you for your thought. It's very beautiful. Very, I could see where it's coming from. So thank you very much. I hope we will continue with the wine, because it's a very good question for wine in the background. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you about your process. I mean, your art is very powerful. I mean, I've tried to not engage with what's going on, even though I know what's going on. I try to not engage because it's too painful. And I think a lot of people feel a sense of paralysis, you know, that you just got to watch it, right? So I try not to watch it. I think looking at your art, I just wanted to ask you the process that you go through, because it's allowed me to kind of look at the situation and also feel the pain of it. So do you go through a process after you've done a piece where you feel, more aware of the situation, or what? Is there a process that you go through?
I could see where it's coming from. It's a very interesting question in terms of, you see, we are all different. Here it is the way how you react to the news. You look away thinking, actually, it's not, I don't want to do that. But other person every day read the news and every day reflect on it. I don't do either. I have to choose something that could be transformed into an art piece. And that is a very difficult process.
Yeah.
I cannot just open the newspaper, today I'm going to talk about Guatemala. There's so many stupid things happening in Guatemala and wonderful things. But I just need to make sure that I put my hands up, that is on something that could touches me and others. And that is a very difficult job. Although actually, as I mentioned in the beginning, or Rana mentioned, that is, I come from fine art, architecture, and theater design. But I will try, and most of my life, before the Syrian issue, I was dealing in Cambridge, I worked with mathematicians, I worked with archaeologists, with composers, with dancers, any disciplines that I am interested in. Look how many thousand disciplines. I have to come up with an idea to go and knock at the door of a scientist to say, actually, I'm interested in this. The same, take this metaphor and bring it to what's happening around the world. I cannot deal with the world. I could deal of tiny small things. If I could achieve what you have said, that is, this helped you to reflect in different way, I will say to myself, it was worth what I am doing. If I could share something with you, if you could take this with you and you think about it, it means I have done something useful. Yes, Rani.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think what's really interesting about this work is for people, as you said, not only to think, it's Syria, for example, like people only die in Syria, or people only die in Palestine. That's their speciality. They die, and we watch them die, or we feel sorry for them. But the pieces you're doing, they also seem just about, as you said, they can be read in a universal way. Because every culture and every country has gone through periods of war and destruction. And then rebirth. I mean, if somebody was living in 1914, 1918, or in the Second World War, they would have thought that Europe was wiped out and that it was finished. Somebody from another civilization would be watching thinking, look at them, they're destroying themselves, they're finished. But then look what happened afterwards. Then there were the 60s, 70s, and Europe was revived. Japan, the same. Italy, Spain, there was a civil war. So I think these pieces also can work universally about, even if there's a horrific war, and the most terrible things happen, the most unjust and horrific thing, there is always, with these seeds, even if there's a tiny, one seed left, that's completely burned. From that one seed, a whole new world can begin again. And we should always remember that. And it's not just the Syrians or Palestinians, or, for example, the Jews. Look what happened to the Jews in the 40s, even before that, but they came again. And also there isn't one group, like for example, the British have committed a lot of atrocities, but as you said, it's often a small group government. People are often totally helpless, there's nothing they can do. And they also suffer the consequences of much abuse on other levels. So either they get sent to wars to die for nothing, the same with the US. And then the Syrians, some of them are very innocent, and others are not innocent. There's no nation that monopolizes victimhood or nastiness.
But if I would like just to add one more thing, actually, the question for me when I was looking at the question of seeds It's because of the Fertile Crescent and the question of the bank seed, seed bank. And that is where not many people know that is actually crops became a tool of war. So many people just take matches and just burn the whole field. And I am not criticizing a government or opposition, or it is just becomes like rape, like killing, like anything else, another form of weapon of war. And this is where I feel that seed is a victim as well. But I love the idea that even if one seed left, there is a hope of life, and this is why I die despite all.
And there's one thought in Syria before the war. They have no genetically modified seeds.
Not at all.
And that's also a tragedy, because that part of the world, Syria, Iraq, that was the Fertile Crescent, where the first seeds in the whole world originated. And before the American invasion of Iraq and then the war in Syria, there were no genetically modified seeds. The Americans, when they arrived to liberate Iraq, one of the first things they did was to bring in genetically modified seeds to the land of organic truth. I mean, that is
Of this organic soil, of the fertile
that
crescent.
is great enough, because then they can make money out of it. Because genetically modified seeds, they only work for one season. They cannot recycle. Then you have to buy some more.
I have a
So you
question.
become
Yes.
hooked
Rana,
on matches.
just there is a question. Are you done? Okay.
I'm sorry.
There is one question. Are you still interested in asking? If you are,
Yes.
okay. Yes, please.
Just a quick question. You mentioned an idea that I'd like to follow up on the agency of the materials that you use.
Beautiful.
Is there a thinker or some reading sources I could learn about this beautiful concept?
A thinker or
You come up with it.
with the name of a person or a
or
writer or
a movement,
Hmm?
the agency of materiality. This is really beautiful. I'd like to learn about.
I would like actually to suggest, I don't remember the full name, but there is a book called The Agency of Art.
Cool. Thank you.
And actually you could see within that there is the agency of material, the agency of space, the agency of light. So there is definitely, maybe because I come from a theater design background, and whatever you put on the theater, it has to speak. You cannot just put something that it's irrelevant. So the color, the light, the proportion, everything has to have this agency. But it's equally, agency has to do with time. So an agency of an object of a particular time. Sorry, can I just have an eye contact with him? Okay, it's much easier for me because I am dyslexic. I need to make sure that I'm delivering my thought. That it's a material has a meaning in different cultures, like color. In one culture has one meaning, and another culture has totally different meaning. So I would say that the agency is not a fixed object. The agency of an object is not a fixed object. It's actually transferred through time. So there is no, even whatever you are going to read, look at this quick architecture we are going to read. I feel sorry for the next generation, that is, they will be told this is architecture what we are living through. This is not architecture. And you go somewhere where the architects, actually you could see that are the closest humans to be gods, because to create a space for people to live in and to feel themselves and to give. But you could see how this whole idea of living, look, we used to live in caves, and look at these caves, they give us a canvas. And so the rocks of the caves became the agency of these people at that time. Now give us rocks, we will have no agency, the same agency. We will reflect at them because of our current understanding. And current understanding is not necessarily the same as the previous. So what I'm saying to say, I don't remember, but I know this is his name starts with the letter G. I could see it somewhere. And if it's not the letter G, you could swear it. Okay, I will accept that. So I hope I answered your question.
Thank you.
Thank you. You wanted to say something.
Yes, I don't have a question, but through your work, because the last months and the last year we have been consuming a lot of media about what is happening in Palestine and in general in the Arab world or any country or any population who have been suffering. And there is this Arab word that no one could translate, which is al-qahr. And I saw through your work that it has been actually translated through objects and not in a whole sentence in order to explain what is al-qahr. I'm sorry, I cannot translate it because it has no word in English or in French, or it's just a series of sentences to explain it. And I saw it through the work, and I think that in a country like Britain or wherever in the world that are not really aware of what is happening, this is translating exactly all the events undergone by those people to explain their, let's say, legitimacy of feeling what they are feeling and to look for better for themselves as a human being.
What a beautiful idea, and I would love to tell you the translation. What is your first language, if I may ask?
Arabic.
Arabic. So I will tell you, actually, I have this idea, and this is for everybody. If I ask you now, what is the name of this color? Any suggestion? Green. Sorry?
Beige.
Beige, green,
Gray.
gray, more? Grayish. Okay. But we run out of language. Language is, with all my respect to language, it's limited. Or it has a function or a sphere that it could play. But if we rely only on that language, we don't need any dancers, we don't need any composers, we don't need any artists to translate feelings into something else. So therefore, the complexity of a human being, that is, we are a palimpsest, and we need to be touched by many different forms, different sounds. Like this is annoying me, but actually it is a function, and I have to accept it or to reject it. So what I am saying, words has gravity, and I feel that is the gravity of that word in one language will not translate in the same gravity in another language. Like humor, yes, it's a humor, the same thing. You need to spend 3 hours to talk about the context to say a small joke. But in another culture, you say the joke, everybody gets it. See what I'm saying? So that, and it's very sweet of you to say that as you saw the translation of this word, which is very powerful. Actually, it is just the juxtaposition of the three words, of the three letters. It's quite, it comes from very, very deep. It's almost like from the womb of earth, that even the earth is being maqbula, which is, it's now I'm playing on the word. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is. It is very beautiful. So I feel that I had actually, just to remind me of something, one of my wonderful teachers called Fatah Mudarris, may some of you know of him. And he's quite a very big name in the Syrian history. And when I visited him last time, he was a composer, he was a painter, and he was a writer. I didn't know that. He was my teacher. I thought he was only a painter. Only when we became friends and I used to visit his studio, I saw that he was playing with music, and he gave me one of his short stories. And last time I went to visit him in 1997, 98, he took one of his short stories and wrote it in English to say he wants me to translate it into English. And why me? Because I'm a visual artist. He does not want another translator. I did, actually, with the help of Rama. And we spent 3 days on just one page. And suddenly you could see paradise. You cannot translate the complex simplicity that is he has. And that is impossible. A language is actually, it is a landscape of its geology. Geology and language speak to each other very well. You could see the more into the north, as you could see, even the voice changes. You go to Siberia, it has totally different voice. Look at the African, how their voice, beautiful voice, coming from a very deep earth. So I feel and it's great that we cannot translate it. Imagine if we can, it's almost, we don't need to wake up the next morning. We know everything, we know how, but because we cannot, somehow this is a much better place. Something understood in one culture, you cannot understand it in another culture. And you have it the other way around. In English, impossible sometimes to translate into Arabic, I think, or to Russian for that matter. But beautiful observation, thank you. Now, I know there is some food and some things you could buy, some tomes, I don't know. But it is actually, there is some food. Is there any other question? I know the hosts decided to leave us alone to enjoy ourselves. But would you like to enjoy the wine, the food, or would you like, there it is, the sign, you have enough of me. Thank you very much for Thank you. I hope you did not.